Okay, it says we are live on Facebook, so I'm going to get going. Hello, everybody. My name is Jane Havens. I am here with Shannon Buhera today. I'm so excited to be chatting with her. Shannon is the founder of Nights and Naps. Do you want to quickly introduce yourself, share a little bit about your business, your family, and then we'll get started?
Sure. Hey, everybody. I'm Shannon. I live right outside of the Washington, D.C. area, and I'm there with my husband. My mom lives with me now, and my daughter, who is going to turn 2 at the end of September. And my background is in education. I was a teacher in Washington, D.C. for 8 years. I'm sure that will come up at some point in this conversation. And yeah, a little over a year ago, I finished Jane's course, her certification program, and launched Nights and Naps. And yeah, a lot has happened since then. So
I know.
I'm really excited and grateful.
I've been wanting to chat with Shannon for a really, really long time because she's just doing really awesome things in the sleep consulting world. And she did it all while teaching, which I think is pretty incredible. And I can't wait to hear more about it. But first, would you mind telling everyone why you decided to get your sleep consultant certification?
Yeah. So my journey started with my own daughter, with Anashe. She was a pretty good sleeper as a newborn, relatively, and then she hit that sleep regression around 3.5 months. And so I was the mom all over Google and in the Facebook groups and stuff, trying to figure out like what other things should I try. And so that's when I kind of came across what a sleep consultant was, and somehow came across your program. And I remember talking with my husband about it, saying, like, well, like, worst case scenario, I decide not to do this as any type of business, but like, I'm going to know all the stuff and our kids will end up being like the best sleepers ever, right? And then, best case scenario, maybe this is the type of opportunity I've been looking for to, be an entrepreneur, because that's really like, I've always had this passion to do that. And I was like, maybe this would make sense because it's in the mommy world, which is what I wanted to get into business somewhere in the mommy world. Before this, I'd actually thought about doing like parenting coaching, so I was already kind of thinking about this type of business. And it's kind of all just like aligned perfectly because I was in it. Like, I needed this information for my daughter first. And so it just kind of like naturally happened. And yeah, so that's kind of how I got into it.
I love that. And it sounds like you were pretty confident in your decision to just get going with it. You had two solid reasons for why you wanted to do it, but did you have any objections, anything that was holding you up or making you feel nervous about taking the plunge to enroll?
Yeah, I felt like I needed to decide, like, what did I want to do with this certification a little bit in order to justify it to myself, and also like as a expense, right? Like as a financial decision, like, well, what do I hope to get out of this? Because I had already been an entrepreneur. I'd already tried launching another business in the teacher world before, and it failed. And so
I remember you telling me that. I forgot about that until just now. I
yeah,
remember you telling me that.
I remember us talking about it in our like initial call of, so I had a lot of fear around starting another business and the judgment that I thought I would get from strangers and from mostly like my own friends and family of like, oh, she's trying a business again. Why doesn't she just focus on being a teacher, right? Or even like, why doesn't she just focus on being a teacher and a mom and like stop with this business stuff? Like, I had a lot of mental blocks and fear blocks around like giving myself another shot and trying a completely different type of business.
I'm glad
So
I
I had
asked
to
you that.
get through that.
Yeah, I'm glad I asked you that today because I actually totally forgot about that. But now you're like a light bulb is going off in my head, and I remember our conversation so clearly. And I remember sort of like the insecurity and the self-doubt that was sort of like oozing through. And I wanted you so badly to like kick that to the curb because I knew I could tell that this was something you were excited about. And I could tell it was something that like I believed in you, that you were going to be good at this. And I just wanted you to just like be done with that, because I knew that you could do this. And I'm really, really glad that you did. And, I think the feeling that you had of worrying about what other people are going to think, and the judgment and all of that is very normal. I actually had that too. When I decided to become a sleep consultant, I was like floating the idea around to friends and was very into what they would think. Now I look back on it and I don't care. But at the time,
Right.
I remember feeling that way. Like, how are they going to respond? And I actually got really positive response to that. So it gave me the sort of, I don't know what the word is, but it gave me the bravery. I had the guts to go through, it built me up. It didn't push me down, but I can understand if people are telling you, or even, I don't know if people were telling you or if that was just in your head, that people would be telling you,
I think
just get back to your teaching job and don't worry about all of this entrepreneurial stuff. But when you have an itch to do something great, it's really hard to squash that down, right? It's really hard to just push it to the side, because deep down inside you believe in yourself and you know that you can do it.
Absolutely. And sometimes I think, and I know this is true with me, and I know this has to happen with other people, we like have this vision of what we think our life is going to be like, right? So there was a long period of time where I imagined I'm going to be a lifelong teacher. And then once I kind of started having this feeling of like, I actually don't want to do this career for my whole life, that was like a big deal, because it's like, well, now what will my life look like? Right? Like I've been telling everyone, like I've always wanted to be a teacher, and I was pretty good at being a teacher. Like it wasn't like it was a completely wrong fit for me. But like I knew in my heart, like I was forcing it. Like I didn't really enjoy it anymore, like I did, the first couple of years when I was teaching. And so it's kind of like a big mind shift to be like, well, what else could my life look like? And ask yourself like those big questions of like, what do I want it to look like? And work back from there. So yeah, it was definitely like those mental blocks. And once I got through that, and once I also asked myself, well, why do I care what other people think about me starting a business? Like once I dove a little deeper, that's when like the walls started coming down, and I got a clear vision of like what I wanted out of doing this. And then it's like, well, who's stopping me? No one but myself.
I love that, because I think so many people get so stuck, whether it's like they've been in the same career their whole lives, or they're a stay-at-home mom and they think like, oh, I can't get back into the workforce, or whatever it is. I think we pigeonhole ourselves, and that's just us. Like that's nobody else, right? I was in catering for 10-ish years before I got into sleep consulting, and I could have just done catering forever. I made really good money doing that. I didn't have to stop, right? But at a certain point, when your interests change and your passion changes and your life circumstances change, I think it's never too late to do something awesome, right? I mean,
absolutely. And use what you've learned in your other career. And I know some careers probably lend more than others, but I'm sure there's like every career would help you in some way to like be a good business owner or to be a good sleep consultant. And for me, like with my education background, I didn't realize just how much it was going to help me and how much it did like mesh together. Like, I mean, I have so many years of experience of working with children and families, and, with creating plans as a special education teacher. I was creating, academic plans and behavioral plans, and like, it's just so much overlapped. And I feel like all of that helped me to where I am today. So it's just like a new chapter in my life. And this is exactly where I'm meant to be. That's what I feel.
I love that. Yeah. When you said, you didn't want to teach anymore, in my head, I'm like, well, you're still teaching. You're just not, it looks different, right?
Yeah, exactly. In a different way.
You're still a teacher. Why did you decide to enroll in Center for Pediatric Sleep Management? I know that we connected, but beyond our connection, like, did you do further research and then come back to CPSM, or did you just look at my program and we talked and that was the end of that? I honestly don't know the answer to this question.
Yeah, I looked into a couple other programs, I would say not far enough that I spoke with anyone, but I actually didn't find any other website that automatically had that offer, right? Like I felt like it wasn't just like an organization's certification. It was, sometimes we say like Jane's course, like we're not just, it's Center for Pediatric Sleep Management. Like, it's very, like, it's becoming bigger and bigger, but it's also like, we're there for you and your mentorship. And like, we're trusting in you. And a lot of the other programs I was looking into, it just very much felt like online course, where yours felt more of like a mentorship program with an online course component. So that's kind of what I liked. And then, once we had our first phone call, and I know I've heard other people all say this too, when I've watched these, once I got on the phone with Jane, we kind of talked through it, you kind of realize, well, in comparison to all the other programs I looked at online, like there's nothing that other programs have that yours doesn't have, but there is things that your program has that I didn't see in others. So for me, it was a pretty easy choice. It was just whether I was going to or not. It wasn't really which program. That didn't really take me a lot of time.
I love that. And I love that. I love having you in my program, I think just as much as you love being in my program, because I really do feel like, and I say this all the time, that like my students that take the course very seriously and they do something with it and they become something, you then become a mentor to others. And I've seen you partner up with others and have your own little mastermind groups. And I know that you've formed relationships within our community outside of just our relationship. And I think that that's really awesome and special and probably unique to my program. And I've actually, Shannon is in a group with a bunch of other ladies that have taken my program. And I've actually started doing that for other ladies that enroll in my program. Like I will partner them up with 2 or 3 or 4 other people sometimes and help them to find their own people within our community as it grows. And I think that, having the big community, having my mentorship, and then also having a person or 3 people can really help to make the journey less stressful, right? And just feel more doable.
Yeah, that's an absolute, that's been a game changer for me too. Because, all of our businesses and us as people, we're so unique and at different spots in our businesses. We get our, leads and our clients from different places. And so just to have like a place to go to either bounce ideas, to ask a question, or to like rant about a difficult client, like just having that space too, where it's like, okay, this doesn't necessarily need to go like to our whole, Facebook group, but it can just go to like a few consultants and friends that will understand. It's a game changer because for me, all my other friends are teachers. Like besides a few like other relatives that I'm really, really close with, cousins and stuff, all my other friends are teachers and they don't understand the world of owning a business or like, going out and finding clients. Like they just cannot relate and that they don't get it. Like me talking to those friends is like, doesn't feel the same as like actually making genuine connections with other sleep consultants going through the same thing and they get it. Yesterday I was on the phone with Natalie Faye for like an hour while I was running errands, just kind of chatting, also giving her some advice on working as you have, a full-time job and trying to grow your business, stuff like that. But I get so much benefit from chatting from her too, right? So it's like always a two-way street of like helping each other out. And that's definitely a good mind shift. If I'm sure most people hopefully are already there, but if not, that like other sleep consultants are absolutely not your competition. Like we're all just colleagues, and we can all help each other to grow our businesses.
Yeah, I always say to prospective students that, one of the things that I think sets CPSM apart from others on the market is that we really foster a community that is like full of collaboration and camaraderie, and it's not about competition. And there is enough room in any business, but especially sleep consulting, there is enough room for all of us to have clients and to be successful and to do whatever it is that we want to do in business. And we can all lean on each other. I think that starting a business on your own can feel really lonely. It can feel really scary, really overwhelming, right? And if you have a community of your peers and your colleagues that are sort of working alongside you, it's less scary, right? And that's what I try. That's what I try really hard to facilitate, because I remember how scary it was to try and build my business without support, without colleagues. And so I wanted to sort of create a culture that was different from that. And that's what we have, I think, and it's really fun. What would you say was your favorite part of the course? Whether it's the curriculum or the Facebook group, really anything.
I actually liked I mean, I was really into learning all the information. I went through it pretty quickly considering, you know, I was working full time and had a baby. And I wanted to get through it as quickly as possible because I wanted to like really get started on the adventure. So like I didn't find it hard to get through the material because I was also just interested in it. Like I remember like going to my husband and be like, well, did you know? Like, and I was just like, throwing out like feedback. And like I was just like learning so much so quickly. But I actually liked towards the end when then I had to create my own sleep plans and say how I would respond to parents based on like, I guess it's the end of course assessment. Because then I could really like put what I learned into action. And like, that's such meaningful, practical purpose. Like, I think I've told you this before, but I love that like your curriculum doesn't have any busy work, right? Like, it's not like, here, go read this book just because, or like you really learn exactly what you need to know. And then you get to apply that. And so I really like the application parts, like at the end of creating the sleep plans. And then it kind of takes you back to like college, right? Like you turned it in, you're like, wow, I wonder if I'm going to pass.
That's so funny. Nobody's ever said that that's their favorite part of the course because it's sort of like the final, right? But I think that you bring up a good point that the purpose of it isn't just busy work. It's not just to stress you out or test you. It's so that you actually can leave the program, not that you leave, but you can complete the program with what I like to call are the bones of your sleep plans for when you go out to support clients. And, you know, the final assessment is a sleep plan for an infant and a toddler. So then you have the framework for each one and you can apply those to future clients down the road. And, you know, I don't like to send anybody off on their way until I feel like those two plans are good because that's what you're going to use moving forward. So if that means we have to go back and forth a couple of times, then we do. And if we don't, then that means you know your stuff and good job. So before we get off, I want to sort of like, I want to go back to like the teaching part. People reach out to me all the time and they're like, I work full time, I'm a teacher, I'm a whatever, like any number of professions. And they say they don't have time. They can't figure out how to like follow their dreams or like take action on something that they're really excited about. They can't figure out how to do that with a full-time career, or they just can't imagine it. How did you do that, first of all? And then like, where do you see yourself a year or 2 years or 5 years from now?
Yeah. Well, first I'll say like, it's not easy, I think, to like have a full-time job and to be starting like your own business. It's not easy. But I always think that anyone, they make time for what's important to them, right? Like I will give you all the excuses in the world of why I'm not going to work out, right? Like I don't have time. If it was super important to me though, I would make time for it. It's just not right now. Like whatever is really important to you, you will find and you will make that time and you will have the energy if it actually is like super important to you. So like what I recommend is that people really reflect on, well, where do you want to go with this? Like, what is your end goal? And what really, really motivated me was, you know, as I started doing it more and more, I had the idea of, I really think I want to do this as my full-time job. Like, I think this is my way to leave teaching, be home more with my daughter, be an entrepreneur, start something for myself, like a long-term business. Once I saw that potential, like I felt like there was no stopping me and I was willing to stay up till 1 or 2 a.m. to write sleep plans. And I was willing to every night take my calls and work on weekends. I was willing and happy to do that. And it also like didn't feel like work. There were some nights where I was like, oh man, I got to finish the sleep plan. Like it felt like work a little bit, but in general, like to me, it was so much different than like teaching and writing the lesson plans where it's like, oh my God, I'm like really forcing myself to do this because I like really have to, versus I wanted to grow my business. And I was extremely motivated by like what I want to get out of the future. Right. And so like, I even have this phrase that like I say over to myself a lot, and it is like living my ideal life by 2022. Like I will just tell myself that like all the time, like what I'm doing now is not because like right now, maybe I'm not exactly where I am in my business. Definitely a year ago, I wasn't where I wanted to be, but like I'm putting in all of the work now so that I think by 2022, I can be living my ideal life of completely replace my teaching income, but only working 20 to 25 hours a week and being with my children, right? Like that's really what I want out of this. And I also want a career where I'm still helping and working with children and families. And I think I can have it all. And I think anyone who wants it, like you can have it all. And so like I was just really, really motivated to get to that life. I was unhappy in my job. And I know of other sleep consultants who have a different goal, right? Like they love their job and that's not what their goal is. So you just have to know like, well, what is your goal and what's going to motivate you? Because I think it's perfectly fine if your goal is to keep your full-time job. And I want to do this as a fun thing. I'm going to work, 2 or 3 nights a week. I'm going to try to get 2 clients a month. Like, I think that could be great too. That wasn't me though. I was like really motivated for like a complete life change basically. And just having that fire in me, like it wasn't hard to make the time to work.
Yeah.
And then you said future. What was that, the other part?
Yeah, whatever. I'm so hung up on what you just said. Like, I was just thinking that like, if I had recorded our conversation back a year ago or a little over a year ago, when you were like so insecure, so nervous, so scared of like what everybody would think of you, and just to like see your transformation is just frankly like really inspiring for me. And to even think that I had like an ounce of a part of that just like makes me really, really happy. And like, I just love seeing you so excited. And it really does speak to the fact that like you are in control of your own like success, your own destiny, like we are in charge. And when things feel hard, you can like curl up and do nothing, or you can like double down. And I feel like I see you double down like all the time, and it's the best. Yeah. The only other thing I wanted to know from you is like where you see yourself in a few years from now, which obviously I know your goal is to be doing this completely full time, replace your income,
right?
Spend 20 to 25 hours a week. What about how are you going to do that? I think you're working on some course creation. Is that right? What are you working on to make that happen?
Yeah. So I feel like I'm always experimenting with my business. Like I feel like I'm always trying new things. And I think that's part of probably always going to be a part of being an entrepreneur, not just the first years. But yeah, I have finished my course that is for like 4 to 12-month-old babies. And so I'm now selling that as a online course and also as a program where they also can get group coaching with me. And then I'm still doing my one-on-ones. I do it very similar to how you and many others offer it. I have a few other like extra offerings, like more ongoing support after as well. And so those are really the things that I'm focusing on right now. I spend a lot of time on my like goal setting and my financial planning. So like I have, my goals for revenue and exactly how I'm going to get there, like how many clients of this type and of this type I need to get for the rest of this year. So I plan to have already replaced my teaching income within the next couple of months. So like in a year from now, like my goal is to be making 6 figures in this business, make beyond what I made teaching. And for it to still feel like a lifestyle business where I'm not working, some entrepreneurs are able to get there, but working like 80 hours a week. I want to make sure that I don't lose sight of all the reasons why I started. So both time to be with my daughter and also, it not just being about the money, but also feeling good about what I'm doing and what I'm providing to families. So yeah, I'm just always going to keep
trucking, right?
Yeah. Can you still see me? Something just popped
I
up.
can. Yeah, okay. I can still see you.
Okay. Good.
What would you say to somebody that's on the fence about enrolling, somebody that like wants to do this, but is scared? What would your pep talk be?
Oh, I feel like I've already given like a little bit of
you have
throughout here. But no, I actually love that conversation. I feel like you have to dive into like, what's the reason you want to, like, what are your whys? And then what are your whys as to no? And like, just like spend a little time analyzing those and like, what is hanging you up each way. I know for me, I know I shared too, one of the blocks was like, this is a big financial investment. And definitely, especially like at the time, like my family did not have this amount of money. I think I shared with you, we actually took the money out of a family vacation savings, like in order to pay for the course. And like my goal was to make the money back by the next year when it was time to pay for our one yearly family vacation that we have. Like that was one of my goals. So like it was a big deal to my family to invest that amount of money. We definitely didn't just like have that amount of money. That was the holdup. But I feel like now it's just like, I can't believe that was holding me up so much for a few reasons. One, if you're interested in starting a business, compare startup costs of other business you're interested in. My brother is also an entrepreneur. Both he's had many failed businesses and he's in a very successful one right now. And each of his business has had thousands and thousands and thousands upon thousands of dollars of startup costs, like crazy amounts of money he's had to go into, at certain points of his life, like go into debt and like all these things, because that's like part of starting a business. There's always like these startup costs. And so when you look at like what the financial investment is in yourself and in your business at the beginning of becoming a sleep consultant, you compare it to like other business startups, it's actually really, tiny. Really low. So like that. And then when you do the math, and I think you've definitely talked about this. I recently rewatched one of your lives that you were talking about the return on investment. And, for most people, you're talking like you need
4 or 5 clients. Yeah.
5 clients, right? So when you do out the math and you realize, well, like what's your goal? And then start with small goals. My first goal was I want to make back the amount of money I spent and put it back into my family vacation fund. Like that was my first goal. And then after that, I started like, oh, okay, well now let me do monthly financial goals, right? Then you can go. Yeah. But that was like a block that I felt like I wasted too much time on. And I know financial investments is a completely different conversation for all different families for different reasons. And it can be a tough one. But that was like one of my big blocks that I would just encourage people to like dive a little deeper past just like, the number can sound like, wow, that's a lot of money. But like, if you actually break down what the return on investment is and how quickly you can get it back in the business world, that is not a very big investment.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I totally agree. And it's hard to get people to realize that, but once you do, I mean, I think you shared in our Facebook group.
Well, because there's all those other blocks.
Yeah, exactly. Before we sign off, can you tell everybody where they can find you, where they can follow you on social media, and we'll leave links to everything down in the comments below.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am mostly on Instagram and TikTok at nights_and_naps. And if you guys want to reach out and ask me any questions, I actually prefer if you do so in Instagram DMs rather than email, because then I can send you voice memos back. So that I would love if anyone wants to connect with me in the DMs. And if anyone's interested in how to use TikTok to grow your business, I always love talking about that because that is where I get about 90% of my clients. So if anyone's interested in that, you can reach out to me as well on social media.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shannon. And I'm actually going to go ahead and save this and maybe upload it to my Instagram IGTV, so then you can share there as well if you'd like. Thank you for chatting with me as always. And I cannot wait to see what you do this next year. Have an awesome afternoon, everyone.
Thanks so much, Jane. Bye.